Hello and welcome to the Hoover YouTube channel. Today we're going to be giving you a look at one of our flagship features of Hoover Commerce. So I'd love to welcome Ross and Callan to introduce you to Hoover CMS. Hi both.
Hello. Hi,
Hey,
Rebecca. Yeah.
Let's show us what CMS currently looks like.
Okay, I'll share my screen and I'm going to start off showing you how it works from the merchant's perspective, how easy it is to work with, and then Callan's going to show you how easy it is to customize for the developer. So here we are in Magento as normal. At the moment we have it on pages and blocks, Hoover CMS, but we're going to bring it to loads of other places like categories and products and give you the ability to add it to other places as well. So when you land on pages, you'll notice a couple of things. You have a chance to go directly into Hoover CMS to create a page. And you also have a column to let you know which pages are created with Hoover CMS and which are created with the regular page builder. Okay, so it's pretty similar here. We have the page builder preview, but we also have this toggle to enable the Hoover editor. And when I toggle it, you get an immediate preview of what the content looks like on the front end. And it's exactly what it's going to look like. If I change it back to page builder, you see, we know with page builder, we get a representation. It's never exactly the same. It's a common, well, for me at least, from clients, they would say, how can I make it look the same? That would be a huge amount of work. But with Hoover CMS, it just looks the same out of the box. So I think that's a really good improvement. And to start editing, you just click on it and it opens up the Hoover CMS editor. And there's lots of cool features here, lots of great ways to manage the content. But I think one of the real standout things is we have what we call our live view editor. And it's basically we call it live view editor because it's like a live preview editor. So as you click on things, it will open up the form, and as you type, you're going to see it change immediately. And that's really useful for the merchants, I believe. There's going to be no oh, where do I go to edit this? How do I edit that? They simply just click on the part of the page that they want to edit and it will open it. It even opens up fields, so they don't even have to look for the field. It works with images, everything. So that's really powerful, I think. Yeah, and then let's say if I want to undo it, I just click this button and it will undo it. So we have this nice feature here. We also have a nice menu here where you can do lots of different things. We have version history, which I'll come back to. We have different ways of adding components. So like a row or a column, these kind of things. We can also add them here as well. And we can also preview. We can preview on tablet, mobile, things like that. We can even preview in a new tab. And we get a preview of what the page actually looks like. And this isn't actually a page. Like we're on /test here. If I refresh the page here, you see it's still showing the old page builder content. But because we have this special URL here, we can actually share a preview of the page with other people who aren't logged into Magento. So you can share your work, your progress, get feedback, and then when you're ready, you can publish it. And that's why we have this little status indicator here. That's I think a big change for Magento. For me, merchants will often say, I was working on a page for ages. I was waiting for the images to come in. And then before I hit save, I got logged out and I lost all my work. How can I get it back? Well, that's solved here because we have a saved draft version and a published version. So let me fix this and I'll change the page to our nice new Hoover CMS page, publish it, refresh this page, and boom, there you go.
That's so nice.
And it looks exactly like what you have in the editor, right? Some more things. We have this tree where you can nest content. We can drag and drop things around. So we have what is Hoover CMS here at the top. I'm going to move that to the bottom. Cool, it moves to the bottom, right? And we have nesting, so we can add different items. So even here, we're restricting what items can be added to an accordion, right? So Callan can show you that. There's really a lot of power on what you can kind of you can edit. So my new FAQ. So, and then my answer. So yeah, it's really powerful. You can have nesting. Okay, so for images, we've integrated it with the media gallery. So if you click on an image here, you want to edit it, opens up the media gallery with some extra options here on the right. And you can just click on something, save it, and it updates it like that. Easy peasy.
Yeah, what's cool is that it uses the image gallery that's currently used in your instance, and once we release improvements to image handling and everything, or image editing, that will also hook into this area, right?
So I'm going to save these changes, and let me just make it, I don't know, I'll just make it another change here. So on this page, we still have the Hiva demo. I'll publish it. So like, think about it from the point of view of the merchant. Maybe someone's working on a page, they're making a lot of changes, but someone comes in and fixes a typo at the same time, and they overwrite the person's work who's been making loads of changes. How do they handle that in Magento? They can't, right? It's just saved as HTML in the database, right? Well, for us, we have a version history. So you can click this and you can see all the previous versions of the page, right? You can, so I'll preview one from before. I think it was from here. So that was the one I showed you before. And I can add a name. So maybe you just want to remember it, or I don't know, something better like Christmas sale prep or something like that, just something that you can see. So if you come back to it, you can easily identify it. You don't have to just have the time. And then say if you want to restore it, you just click restore, and then you get back to this version that we had here.
Does that automatically go live, or is that saved, not published again?
It's saved, not published. So it's like a draft version. So then you just hit publish, and then, so I think if I go like this, so now I'll hit publish, and we're going to see the updated version. We don't want, when you restore, for it to like change something directly on the live site, because you might want to make adjustments to it before you actually publish it. And if I open up the history, you can see, this was created today at that time. It was published by me. And this one before, again, this was the one I actually restored, because it says restored from today, and it gives the version it restored it from. Sorry if I'm talking over people a little bit.
No, I'm just dead excited, so I just keep talking over you, being like, "This is amazing."
So yeah, you can check the site in lots of different store views, right? So basically in the editor here, you can check different store views. So like this is just another website with a different background color. So like this, and a different logo. I'll go back to our nicer one here. So you can preview it in different stores, but then also in the version history, you can obviously do that here as well.
Obviously.
Like, it's so blasé about these like amazing things. Like, yeah, you can do that. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Like, this is mind blowing for everyone that uses Magento currently, 100%.
Yeah, but isn't it something we've all wanted? We've been at least I have been so frustrated with the content management in Magento for a while, and these are kind of the things on my wish list, and here we have them. You can also share preview URLs for older versions as well. So let me go to one that looks a bit different, maybe one from yesterday. Yeah, that looks quite different. I'll share a URL there. Actually, I'll share the Napster one. Hopefully Napster don't mind me using that name if they're still around. There, so like that's in the version from yesterday, so you can preview it as well. Yeah.
And so that's publicly available to anyone that has the URL, right?
Yeah. They have to have the exact URL, and it's got like security with this hash key, which is quite secure. Yeah. It's a very common way of sharing URLs online, so yeah.
Remind me, was there an expiry on those links?
It's 7 days. Yeah. So from the date it was created, it's created on the fly, right? So when you open up the history, these URLs are actually created on the fly, and they will last for 7 days.
So after that, they would have to request a new URL. Can you share it again?
Yeah.
So super secure.
Yeah.
And I'm
very
guessing
secure.
that no robots would kind of track those pages.
Exactly. Yeah, there's no indexing on those pages. What more can I show you? I can show you CMS blocks, if you'd like. Okay, I'll just close out of this. You know, the other thing about it, like I have to say, is it's just much faster. You know, it's much faster than working with Page Builder. I actually don't want to show you how slow this can be. If I go in and start editing it, we're going to be waiting for like 30 seconds or something just to hit save. But it's
800 JavaScript files, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I have a CMS block here, I think, or a couple. Yeah, it must be this one. So I'll go in and edit this. So here, what's different about blocks are, you know, blocks can live in lots of different places. They can be on lots of different pages. They can be on every page. So what we've added here is a preview URL key. So if I remove this, hit save. So at the moment, it was previewing it on the the root of the website. If I remove it, hit save, we're just going to get like a very plain preview, not in the context
Without
of the front end
context.
page. Yeah, I think, I hope I've got this right, but I think About Us is the correct URL. Yeah, so now you see it on the About Us page. So you can choose where to view your CMS block, where you're editing it. So if I click in here and edit it, and we have lots of settings on the page. We have all the settings. So like all the settings you want to edit on the Magento page, you can also edit them here or on the block, right? So I'll change it to something else. Let's say contact. There we see the block on contact. So I'll just change it back to the home page because I prefer that. Or actually, let's go back to, I think it was test. Yeah, test. That's even better. We've got everything there. So now we've got like content from Whova CMS in 2 places, but it knows I'm only looking at this content here, right? So like if I click on this, nothing's going to happen because that's not what I'm editing. There's like a little line here so I can see this is the area I can edit. And again, as I update it, things will change immediately. We've also got these tabs, so I can change different things to do with the design. I can change the color if I wanted to. Change the alignment.
Magenta.
Yeah. I can also add classes here, so that will update as well. Yeah, there was a lot I could have shown you on components actually on page. I forgot, but like there's lots of components we're adding. It's still a work in progress, so we haven't added all the icons here and things like that. But if you don't add an icon when you're creating, it will default to these ones where you see lots of. So, you know, this is kind of content we'll be bringing you.
What's super exciting to me is, well, Canon's obviously going to show us how you write components next, but the fact that we are able to very easily integrate Whova UI entirely into the page builder, so that merchants have our entire UI library at their disposal in the admin and just can create pages super easily that just look nice, is really, really cool feature.
Yeah. I'm going to show you one more, which is HTML, right? Just because it's kind of neat. So we have a nice little HTML editor. I'll just grab a piece of HTML. So this is quite a lot of HTML, it's quite big. I'll paste it in here. It's nicely formatted, right? And I'll hit save. And boom, like that. It's just, you know, it renders it like exactly like it should. It's just like using Tailwind CSS everywhere, so that works so nicely with Whova, of course.
I'm just amazed by that as well, because I work a lot in HTML when I'm using the Magento page builder currently, and just being able to see it in contrasting colours so you can see where the HTML ends and the content begins is amazing and mind-blowing to me. So yeah, that is going to definitely pique a lot of interest.
That's a great thing. Like we ourselves are heavy users of Magento with our own store, and we're pretty much dog feeding our own products. And it's felt like we've been abusing Page Builder in so many ways to just make it do what we want to do, and just to replace that with something that just natively works in the way that we want to is already such a bliss. It's our own joy. Like when I created Huva, it was like my own joy in the first prototype that I created. Like, oh, this is what I want to use, and it's the same with this. It's like this is what I have been waiting for 16 years, and I can't imagine otherwise than that enthusiasm will translate to all of our customers and users. It's really that good.
To do a good segue, I think, is like the real power is like, you might think this is nice, but the thing is you've got total power to create whatever you want here. So I think, shall I hand it over to you, Colin, to discuss that?
Yeah. So yeah, it's always great seeing the front end side of it in action. I think from my side, I want to showcase how just easy it is to create these components, and like there's a lot of care and attention that's gone into it, because we don't want to make the same mistakes that we've done in previous years. Page Builder, it did suit a need, but there was a lot of engineering to it, let's say. So there's a lot of files that you have to create. There's a lot of different little tweaks that you have to do, even to just get the most minor adjustment to it. So my thought process, with all of this is let's keep it, let's say 2 files to create a component. Like, components are the bread and butter. They are going to be the thing that you're probably doing the most. You're not creating multiple different sort of like things in the back end. You just want to create the front end component. That's what you want to sort of focus on. So that's where I've tried making this easier. So yeah, from my side, this might look a little bit daunting. Makes sense while it's here. So I've just prepared inside of a test module a components JSON file. So this is where we're declaring the components. So this will be, the default values, what fields it's going to show, like the different templates that it's going to load instead. And then below it, I've got the PHTML file. So the beauty of Hoover CMS is we run through PHTML files, meaning that we can do everything that we expect Magento to do, and that we should really expect the Magento CMS to do. So with Hoover, using view models in the template is a very common occurrence. We use it for hero icons, we use it to load certain data, get item.html, any of those different sort of, features. So we want to use that too. And of course, we're going to want to use that in our sort of CMS. So yeah, we're running through PHTML templates, and we feel that it's probably one of the most important things that we can do. So just like any Magento work that you're probably doing, you probably just always reference, files that have been created before, like the base or anything that's sort of in the vendor. And I'm probably going to do the same here, just so I don't get a little bit lost. It's all sort of, it's just as new to me as it is to like everyone else. It's great. So here we go. So if I check the testimonial component, which is this one here, this has quite a lot of cool features in it. So what I can do is I can see there's a quote here, there's the image of the author name, title, and variant. So variants mean that we can change the template based on a setting. So here we have 2 different variants. So I can go to the simple variant, and that will just change the template on the fly. So we can have template A, template B, and rather than sort of tweaking multiple different settings to get it that way, we can just have the same content and just go, now I want to use template B. So I think that's an awesome piece of functionality, and it's definitely, I think it's definitely game changing, like for us, just being able to sort of do those things, and it's going to be really, really good for merchants.
Because this is just switching the HTML file that renders it, right?
Exactly.
So as an agency or as a merchant with in-house developers, you could just create a variation of a core template file and add it to this component so that it has the styling of this merchant.
Exactly. It's absolutely fantastic. We do it in multiple different places as well. So like if we've got this USP list and you check Hoover UI, check the Figma file, you can see 3 different variations of it. And what we have here is 3 different variations. We can have this for like icons. We can have this like compact without like the title and just having these sort of, cards here, or we can just have the more sort of specialized cards view. And that is just, it's incredible from like a developer. I don't need to have to do things multiple times. I don't need to create 3 different components to achieve the same goal, like USP list A, B, and C. So that's pretty cool. So we're going to start going through building a new component. So we start off by giving it a label. Then we can go down this list and apply every single field, but not every single one of them are required. So, for example, the category. If we don't specify one, rather than break it or not show it, because it's something that's not massively required, we just assume, okay, let's just put this in the other category. Yeah, so we're not blocking anyone when we don't need to. So I guess in this scenario, I am probably just going to say, let's give this a category and say, hello even, and this will create a new category on the fly. And then we can pass in an icon if we want to and a template. They're, again, not required. So if we don't pass in an icon, it'll just show like one of those that, one of the HTML icons that Ross was showcasing before. And template, if no template's been passed, then we'll just default to where we expect it to be. So where we expect it to be would be inside of the template elements, an example. But if we want to point somewhere else, we'll pass in a template.
That's based on the label or the key for this JSON on the left?
Yes, so it's based on the key. So if we've created an example component, then we'll expect a, front-end template inside that area. And even if it doesn't exist, it will just complain about it in the editor. It'll be like, look, we're just missing the PHTML file. It doesn't break the entire page. But in this scenario, I am going to just copy this. And so I guess we're going to vendor test elements. And then we'll go with example. So, and then from this point onwards, we're going to be defining our content. So inside of content, I want to have a title. And the title, we're going to set this to be a text field. Then let's give it a label. So title. And then from this point onwards, we want to set a default value, actually. We want to make sure that like when someone adds a component that it's just got something in it straight away. So let's just say example title. And then we can set a couple of different attributes to it as well. As we can see here, like set a placeholder, make it required. We can set like min length, max length. We can really, really keep going down that sort of that rabbit hole. But just for now, we're going to keep it simple. We're not going to block anyone from doing anything. So we've got this content. And then below, not below content, then I'm actually going to add an image. Let's say type, and this will be an image. Label, example image. Okay, that's awesome. So from this next point, where we can see in the editor that we've got these tabs here, like design and advanced. By default, they're empty. So we can you can add things that are specialized for design, or you can add things which are specialized for advanced. However, we've built a little bit of extra functionality in here called includes. And what the includes actually does is includes a base set of settings that we have predefined, and you can create your own as well, and then just point to that specific section. So inside of default design, it will just have some things like, background color, or in default advanced, CSS classes. So instead of writing them out every single time, let's just include, some of the things that we expect to have in every single file.
And this could be defaults for a specific front end for a merchant.
Exactly. Absolutely. Some different agencies, merchants, anything, they may have something that they include in every single template or expect to, and some may not. So, sometimes what we're trying to build with all of this is flexibility. Some clients just want to be able to change text content. So an entire template can be pre-built for them from the ground up, with all of the spacings, all of the paddings, background colors, images, anything. And all they have to do is change the title. Whereas some different clients may actually want to use, they may want to nest in. I want to add a text inside of a row field. I want to have a grid, and then I want different things and different grid items, so it can be more individualized for them. So yeah. And one last thing that I'm actually going to add before I forget is the variants option. So I've also pre-prepared this as well. So variants is inside of content. And inside variants, we could probably just copy the entire thing. So let's just copy that, paste it in, and change the paths.
Imagine you would throw it into the wrong place in the JSON. Does it break? Does it throw an error, a warning?
So yes, we have a custom JSON checker. So it will check the JSON, and it will throw out it'll throw out an error where the JSON is breaking. So rather than having to just guess, my JSON's broken, where is it? Maybe my file has 500 lines of code. I don't know. Rather than having to, debug everything, it's like, okay, no, the JSON's actually breaking in this specific area, or the type that you've passed in is spelt incorrectly, or just anything along those lines. So it is very, very clever.
Why would the error appear?
So it would appear on the
Sure. Do you want to break one of them and just show it, Colin?
Yeah, of course. So maybe if I just add something that it's not expecting. Let's just check this now.
No, that was it.
It's going to be like a little bit earlier. So type test.
Yeah.
I think this is unexpected.
Yeah, and it tells you exactly. It says it's like the example. If you go back to the error message, Colin, it tells you exactly. So it tells you the file, and it tells you it's the example component in the content group under the variance type. So it specifies exactly where the error is.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, it's super. The error message is just super useful. Does it also break in the front end?
Yeah. So the error messages
mode, it won't.
In production mode, it won't. Yeah. I'm just asking the obvious questions.
So there's no you can't break anything on the live, even if
if someone pushed it up, something like that, the component wouldn't work, so they wouldn't be able to edit that component, but the rest of the page would work.
So
there would be a log we could check. It'd be easy to find the fix on production as well if someone was that stupid.
Yeah. So I guess in the terms of in development mode, if we do something in the file that's not expected, we actually do get a more specialized error telling us exactly where something is broken. So if I pass in a type that's not expected, for example, and I reload the page, it's going to say, inside the example component, inside content, variants, and type, you're not allowed to do this. Like we're only expecting these fields. So if something breaks out of that sort of thing, what we're expecting or what's broken, it's like, okay, this isn't working, this isn't right. So yeah, that's it's
You
pretty
want to
cool.
catch errors early,
Exactly. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to finish off creating like this variant, and I'll just call this variant, and I'll call this original. So this template, I'm actually specifying that this is the default one that's actually going to be used. So I think all of it should be ready now. If I refresh the page, here we see the example component, and this is inside of the newly added category of hello. So I can add this, press edit, and look, we've got this all prepped here. And just to get this showing on the front end, this is our example PHTML file. And let me just add wow. So let me refresh, add example, and now we can see wow.
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 That's the enthusiasm we want from everyone. So yeah, you might see a couple of different things, such as like editor attributes. And what that essentially means is that means that we know that this is a clickable area for it to open the component. But we can get a bit, cooler with it, where let's just add a H1 tag and say, let's make sure that we escape our fields and say, block get title. And there we go. So that's the title. However, I want to be able to tell the editor, I want to focus directly on this field. So what we'll do is I'll add this and I'll say title, because that's the section that I actually want to target. So when I refresh this now, add my example component, I can click this and it will focus directly on the title field. So I don't need to, I can click this and then start editing content, which is awesome. So I can, I'm not having to worry about where I am, what field I'm looking at. I can click in here and then start typing. That's a pretty cool little feature.
And those attributes only render in the editor. They don't mess up your front end, because they're only needed in the editor. So they don't mess your front end for, the actual storefront.
Exactly. So, those fields are, specialized. Definitely you're not going to have like random HTML like in your end production content. But what I'll do is let me just hit save for the moment. And then we can actually just start looking in our variant and just say, H1, this is a variant. And this won't load the title that's in here, but I click on this and say variant. Look, we're in the variant template now. But we can go back to our original and switch back and start making our changes. Maybe in this scenario, I can probably copy all of this. And the only difference in this one might be that the background's different. Or actually, let's go BG primary. Let's save. So in the example component, let's go to the variant. Oh, look, we have we've got different changes or different settings or different anything in here. So I'm just going to primarily work in the original file now, but it's definitely cool to show. So we have broken out of our sections. It's because of that. And it's because of that. So what's next? Let's get the image. So let's, copy something from a different file. Let's say get image, and in our scenario, it's get image, not get author image. And then, copy that image section. So if we're getting an image, here's all the settings, here's all we need. Probably don't need all of those classes. Let's just maybe set these different sizes. I do like the rounded full as well. That's kind of nice. So we'll save that. Go back to our editor, start making changes. Let's add the default image, which is here, and then hit save. And then from this point onwards, if we in our original image source, no, it's because of this. Oh, this should be working.
Are you in the correct variant?
Again, slap. Oh, yeah, sorry, my bad. So where were we? Let's go back to just adding the image again then, shall we? So
I'm not gonna cut any of this.
yeah, we're gonna
this
keep this.
This is developers live, and, this is just what it is. And the fact that you haven't pulled out all of your hair while working on a component, the way you would with Page Builder, having UI components, and like this, everything in this is just so nice.
Imagine building a page builder, customizing Page Builder on video. You'd run out of tape and time. It'd be impossible.
No, so yeah, what we're going to do is we're going to add an image in here. So let's get this image and let's again reference the other file because it's all there for us, telling us exactly what we need to do. So just in our scenario, we're just getting the image instead, and then we will add in this get image. I will remove a couple of the different classes because probably don't need them. And we'll say the get editor attributes is for get image. So I'll hit save on this and refresh. And let's add this new image. So I click on this, hit save, boom. We now have an image that's just been added from the editor. And, the possibilities in this one are endless. It's like, oh, here we go. We need a grid. We need a grid cols 2. So then I'll give it a gap of 12. Let's just do this. Refresh. Oh, I didn't save the image, did I? You've always got to make sure that you save your content. There we go. We're saved. But there we go. We're adding grids. Now we're just making differences to our file. Okay, let's start adding padding in here. Let's start adding some backgrounds, text white, item center. Cool. There we go. Here we go. It's now coming together, right? It's now coming together. And I think we were talking about before the include defaults. So if we're in the advanced tab now, okay, we now have some advanced settings. So I could probably just say in this scenario, block get classes. Awesome. I'll probably escape that, but we can have some classes, refresh, click into advanced, just say, I want some space in here. Spacing's been added, If you'll probably see in some of these files that they have a lot more different base settings. So having like background colors and stuff, we have components which have some more complicated settings where they can, set alignment, set background colors, set this. And I think a good one to be checking is probably like the text field, which has a lot of different settings in it. So we've got add our text here. Firstly, I probably want to change the background color and then probably change the text color. Okay, let's, add some padding in here. Maybe let's set the font weight to like bold. Maybe we want pretty big text. And yeah, I mean, it's just awesome how we can sort of do that with just a couple of different settings.
Plus, it's fully customizable for every component, which is very cool.
Exactly. It's not like Page Builder where you tend to be including a lot of different settings or settings you don't even really know about. We're the aim of everything is just to make a developer's life easier and obviously make the merchant's life easier by being able to modify these things really, really quickly. We want it so you're not fighting what you're doing. You don't want to miss out one file or miss out one just tiny, tiny sort of line of code that doesn't make it show up in the editor. We just want to make it so if you do get an error, it errors quickly. And we do want to make sure that if you have text that you've modified, that you can see it straight away. And there
You
we
have
go.
control over the HTML, which is a big thing, right? Because page builders save
Exactly.
the HTML in the database. You can change it. You can change it 1 week to the next if you need to. You need to fix it. You don't need to recreate it in Page Builder.
Yeah, exactly. So if I just needed to pull in hero icons here, I would just pull them in. Like there's no specialized trickery that I have to do.
So we're at the time of recording almost up at the alpha version state, and just considering everything we're seeing here, it's already amazing. You can see whatever we have planned for next steps in our actual roadmap. So we have released the first version of our roadmap just now in the end of February. So there you can already see what the next things will be that we're going to work on for CMS, including the other products, features that we're building for Huva Commerce. So a lot more is planned to be added to this, like just working and like seeing this in action, being built out. So much inspiration comes up to build extra stuff into this. There's one thing that I think we haven't given enough attention to yet, and that's the fact like how this data is being stored, and the power of the fact that everything is stored in JSON. And it's all metadata basically. It's data metadata, and it's not stored as HTML. So that enables like the whole version history, being able to just take an entire blob of the page because it's one JSON object, and we can play with that in the future with extra features that we're building, like the copy and paste, and like it's what makes it very easy to generate Tailwind classes, because everything in the editor will always working with one JSON object. Storing that and like going to previous states, like the undo, redo, everything is possible because of this. So yeah, I think that's super powerful. Ross, I think you're the domain expert on the JSON part. Can you share a little bit like how that is stored in the database and how we're powering version history? Where is that stored locally or in the database? Is it per user? How many redo, undo actions are we storing? The drafts, how many are we storing?
Yeah, so you store a draft version and a published version for each page, and it's a JSON object in the database. And then the version history, we might be refactoring a little bit, but at the moment, like you can set with DI configuration how far you want it to go back, because you don't want to clog up your database with lots, going back, years, right? So at the moment we have it set to 40 versions in the past. Just remembering, I forgot to show you guys a feature. There was that you can pin your versions. So you can, say if there's a version you want to keep, you can pin it. So you could have a version from years in the past that you decided to pin. And at the moment,
just revisit the Christmas edition of the homepage every year.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you can go, what did I have last Christmas? You can just go back to the pinned version. And again, that's 10 by default, but with DI configuration, you can change it to a bigger number if you want. Yeah.
I would jump in actually really quickly, and there's one really important thing that probably didn't get touched on. And one of the negatives of Page Builder is you have some breaking changes, let's say, or there's a bug and the client needs you to make some modifications. You have to go through and deal with all of that again, like on your demo sites. And then when you push changes to production, you sometimes even have to go into Page Builder to then make modifications, because again, it's stored in raw HTML. Whereas in this scenario, you've got 100 pages and, there's a slight little tweak that we need. We need a different shade of blue. We need a different this. We need a different that. It pretty much is deploy your changes and it applies, because again, we're passing through these, again, the data stored in JSON. However, the templates are built using Magento's templating system, which is incredible. So it's hopefully going to be a big time saver for everyone, I think.
Yeah, I guess that kind of wraps up what we have right now. And if this doesn't inspire enough and makes people enthusiastic enough, I don't know what will.
It's inspired me, so I'm glad you're building it, regardless.
I want to thank you both for a very extensive demo, and it continues to be a great journey building this thing out.
Absolutely. Thank you all for being here. And I will also make sure that the description for this video is up to date with everything and the latest information that we've got out. So no matter when you're watching it, you will always be able to find the latest information below. So yeah, we're excited to share it and share more with you.
Cheers all.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.